Welcome back to Traders Consigliere Weekly Analysis. So, if you're new here, we do fundamentals and technicals before the start of the week to recognize upcoming potential trades. So, we look at the previous week first to see if our fundamental biases have changed, and then look at the upcoming week. So, from the previous week, we had a heavy fundamentals. So, on Monday, we had Japanese yen producer price index, which came in a bit lower at 5.1%, which indicates a deflation, right? That Japanese yen, the inflation has dropped here, which is not a good thing because Bank of Japan wants inflation to, they want inflation because they have deflated the currency for way too long. So that's what's happened there. But on Tuesday, we had claimant count change, which gauges the labor market in UK, right, for the British pound, and that came in at negative 13.6%, right? So that's a good thing for the currency. Then we have average earnings, which came in at 6.5%, higher than the previous month, showing inflation is persisting. And we had the dollar, US dollar, CPI, consumer price inflation, which was a big one. And it came in a bit lower from the previous month at 4%. So showing that inflation is dropping, which is US dollar bearish sentiment, right? And we see core CPI, which is the important statistic here, at 0.44%, which was stagflation. That it has been in the same spot, right? It hasn't changed. Not a big drop. And what core CPI is, it just excludes food and energy sector. And this is what the Federal Reserve takes in account when deciding about the rate hikes, right? So that was interesting. Bank of England, same thing. Governor Bailey mentions a lot about inflation. We had the GDP, which came out at 0.2%, which is higher than the previous month, right? Which shows that it is out of a recession at the moment. So that's interesting. Then we had the PPI, which is the producer price inflation with the dollar, and that came in at negative 0.3%, showing that it has dropped, right? Showing that the hikes are working, the rate hikes are working. So the CPI has dropped, the PPI has also dropped. But if you notice, the core PPI, the producer price inflation, is at 0.2%, again a stagflation. So we had the FOMC later in the day, and FOMC was interesting. They decided to hold the rates, not hike it, not drop it, not cut it. They decided to hold the rates at 5.25%, right? So the main important points that were mentioned was on the FOMC press conference by Chairman Powell, and he mentions that inflation is still persisting. And to still keep an, they still may or may not hike rates, right? And he still says that there's a possibility of 2 rate hikes, possibly, which is US dollar bullish sentiment, right? So few points that I kept a big note of is the inflation target is at 2%, right? That's what they want the CPI to drop to, which is still a far away from the 4% mark, which is at now, right? So that is still high. And the next FOMC meeting in July will be live, right? By live, possibly live, that means they'll take the votes live for the hike or to hold the rate, right? So that's important. And the market at the moment is showing that the traders are pricing in 25 basis point rate hike, which is a bullish US dollar sentiment. And he does mention there will be no rate cuts this year, which is also bullish. And it's quite simple though. They hiked rates very fast. The pace of the hikes were really fast, and slowly they're slowing it down, just like a car which slows down, right? So that's something to keep a note on. Statistics to keep a note on is the core PCE price index, right? PCE. The labor market, which he keeps mentioning over and over, that is still tight, it's still raging on. The wage growth is still high, and the housing market disinflation is still slow. So that's the important statistic the Federal Reserve will be keeping an eye on. The banking crisis, the full consequences of it is still unknown because they're holding the rates, and he does mention that the small banks may go under, right? And the federal funds rate is at 5.6%, which they have increased from by another 0.5%. they keep increasing the federal funds rate target higher and higher, which shows that it is a bullish US dollar sentiment. But when they did decide to hold the rates, US dollar went bearish for a while, and I think over the next week or so, or maybe even longer, we start seeing the real direction of the US dollar come in. I still remain bullish on the US dollar, and we'll look at the DXY in a minute. If you're following Europe, the euro, they did hike by 25 basis points. So stronger euro, and they confirmed there'll be more rate hikes. With the dollar, again, we had retail sales come in lower, and then we had Empire State Manufacturing Index in New York come in higher at 6.6%, showing inflation is persisting. 0.3% of retail sales, again, inflation is persisting. So a lot of statistics here at the moment show that dollar is bullish. Then on Friday we had Japanese yen. Nothing different happened, right? They decided to keep a negative interest rates because they still want their currency to catch up, right? They want inflation to happen because they've been deflated for way too long, and I think their inflation is at 3 point something %, right? So they still wanna hold the rates at negative. And then we had CPI with Europe. If you're trading the euro, right there, 6.1%. The last statistic of last week was preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment coming in higher, right? So this is again bullish for the dollar. So with the current upcoming week, on Monday we have a bank holiday for the dollar. I personally won't be trading, lower volume, and a lot of the indices, S&P 500, US30 and NAS100 will be closing earlier, so I'll stay away on Monday. But from Tuesday I'll be full in, and on Tuesday we don't have big ones. We have FOMC members comments to keep an eye on. On Wednesday we have CPI with the British pound, which is going to come in same stagnant, a bit lower at 8.4%, but the core CPI is again going to be stagnant, right? That's the forecast. So this will be interesting to see, because the CPI is still raging really high in UK, right? And also the RPI, which is the retail price index, again very high at 11.3%. We have Federal Chair Powell's speech here, and I think it is important to keep an eye on the comments made here. Then we have bank rates, the monetary policy, and what will be the rates, right? So they are forecasted to hike rates by 25 basis points. So that will be interesting to see what happens, which is obviously bullish for the British pound. Again, FOMC members comments, Federal Chair Powell's again comments, keep an eye on. And in the end of the week we have retail sales with British pound, and we have PMI, right, Purchasing Managers Index. So that will be interesting to see, right? So we have fundamentals, heavy fundamentals, but not as heavy as last week. So let's start with the dollar index, right, DXY. And if you do look at the weekly time frame, what do we see happen? Price remains bullish, right? Technically remains bullish. It has been holding this support for a while, much longer, right, which I've been calling out for the past few months almost, right? And at the moment we see price did break through, but still has to break through this structure area here, right, this support and resistance area. But we still remain bullish. We remain bullish, and if the support breaks clean through and we see the trend completely switch there, that's when I go bearish, because as traders we react and adapt, we don't hold biases. So what do we see happen from the week? We see price went into consolidation before FOMC, and we saw a breakthrough happen on, when was it? It was around here, right, when the CPI came out. So we saw a breakdown from the consolidation area, and at the moment we are a bit bearish here on the dollar index, and I think that might just be a pullback to this demand zone here that I've drawn out in purple. Let me go down to right there. So I think price may pull around here and then start giving us a move towards the upside. But if not, if price does find support and again bounce, it's still a good thing. But if price does break through below not a good thing, right? That shows me the dollar is bearish. And from my fundamental bias at the moment, I hope for price to find support, demand here, and take off. So that's what I'm looking with the dollar index. So let's look at British pound US dollar. British pound US dollar is bullish, right? So on every time frame it is bullish. On the weekly shows you a nice heavy volume candle towards the top, and then on the daily we see bullish move, right? Clear bullish candles all the way to 1.28500. So definitely we're looking to take longs, right? Every major time frame is telling us to take longs, so that's what we'll be looking at. So on the 4-hour time frame at the moment, we see bullish move towards the top there. And if you do look at the daily time frame, and you see how price has made a demand area there, and then we saw also a massive push right here from this area there, right? So those look like high probability zones to me. That's why I've drawn out those areas. And if you look at, let me go down to the lower time frame on 4-hour. On the 4-hour we see, right, so this area is important to me. Why this area here at 1.2500 is because this is a major area of support and resistance, which I will show you in a minute. There. And if you do notice here, what do we see? Price found support, resistance, right? Support, resistance. So it is a strong area of support and resistance, and right here we see a lot of demand be created, right? And we see a unmitigated area of interest. So I'll be looking to see if price can pull through around this area here. The best way I think I would look at doing this is maybe looking to see if price can reach around here and react, because I do not like that there is another demand zone down here, right? So I won't be using any limit orders here personally. I would wait for price to retrace enough and then see if it can give us a move, right? So let me mark this off at 1.25100. Once that reaction comes through, that's when I'll start looking to take longs. If not, I won't take longs. So this probability is there, but it's medium probability. Let's look at GJ, British pound, Japanese yen, and let's look from the weekly time frame. So extremely bullish, right? Very, very bullish. I mean, the last weekly candle was very bullish due to Japanese yen again maintaining the same stance and British pound being stronger than Japanese yen. So a lot of bullish volume there. And if you do look at the gray zone there, it's an older demand zone that's about to be hit. I think price may hit here and then give us a retracement possibly. On the 4-hour, we again see a bullish move, right? So what do we see happen here, right? Let's go down to a lower time frame there. So what do we see happen here? We see price do something, right? Price went into consolidation there, this area there. Heavy consolidation. Let me actually draw that out. Consolidation, right? And what did price do? Price broke through consolidation. And then found support, right? If you go down to the lower time frame, what do we see? Is an area of resistance and support, right? So this is a high probable area that I'm interested in. Not only that, we see a heavy demand zone here, right? So what I'll be keeping an eye on is this area down here that we got this impulse, right? So this area would be at 1.74840, let's call that, to be a bit exact, or we can make it let's call it 830 actually. So this area here is what I'll be keeping an eye on. I think this would be around a 15 pip stop loss or so, right? Or if you want to be played a bit more safer, maybe a bit longer, but 15 pip to stop loss. And once price starts making its descent here, I'll be looking to see if we have certain demand zones that I can target for take profit. And in this, I think this can enter a massive risk reward. So this is what I'll be keeping an eye on with Japanese yen, British pound, Japanese yen. Gold, Gold, heavy consolidation here, heavy consolidation. On the daily also, we initially did get a break here. On this day that we had this bullish candle, I was looking to take short positions, but price did not give me a confirmation. It started, this was a massive liquidity grab, right? What did it do? Break through the last lows there and grabbed all the liquidity. So at the moment it is in consolidation, and I personally do not want to take any trade once this, I want to see this consolidation break clean. So nothing with gold here. Let's look at SPX. SPX on the weekly, bullish, right? Very bullish, and it has now hit a demand zone on the daily. If you zoom out, I think right there we see a demand zone on the from April 2022, and it has hit that zone. Now that it has hit that zone, now we see a retracement coming through. So if you go down to the 4-hour time frame, what do we see happen? Price is pulling back, right? So we are looking to take long positions only for the moment, right? Unless the trend switches completely. So we see a bullish move, and I see a demand zone here. If you see, we have a support, a resistance and a support created there, which shows me that area, that's a high probable area, and I see an impulse happen there. So if I go down to the 1-hour time frame, we see a nice impulse towards the top from this area, right? So I would be expecting an price to come down here at this demand zone and give us a retest, which would be at let's call it 4,4310. Right, and this would be a tighter around a 7-point stop loss, quite tight stop loss, but possibly a nice big risk reward. And obviously best to join the group, the free Telegram group, to keep updated on how I may change this trade or may increase the stop loss or different demand zones that I might target. So at the moment I'll be targeting around this area, but I want to see how price develops till it reaches my area of interest, because I see nice liquidity zones all around here, right? So let's see what happens, right? That's the area of interest. Let's look at NASDAQ 100. On the weekly, very bullish. It now has hit a massive, also another supply zone, just like the S&P 500. And NAS100 has been a bit tricky to trade. The reason why is it's just been giving us insane amount of volume towards the top, and it's been a bit hard to catch those retests areas. So if you see, we see nice bullish volume, but if you see on the 4-hour, something interesting is we have a inverted head and shoulders. We see impulse towards the top once that head and shoulders pattern formed, and we also see a neckline that hasn't been completely retested. So a lot of confluence is there. And if I go down to the 1-hour time frame, what do we see? An area of also resistance, right? Turn support, and we had that impulse after that inverted head and shoulders. So a lot of confluences to take a long position here, right? And this is where I would be interested to take a long position down here, yeah, in this area here, which would be at 14610, or almost around the 1600 area, 14600. Just to be a bit exact, I'll put that then 14610. So yep, that's an area of interest with around 25-point stop loss or so, or maybe a bit larger if you want to play it safe. So that's what I'll be looking to take. This will be the position, long position I'll be looking to take with NASDAQ. US30 is probably the most trickiest pair at the moment, and the reason why is it's interesting. So we had this retracement towards this daily demand zone that I mentioned from the past few weeks, and we got a reaction turning price bullish. We go down to the daily time frame, and what do we see? Price gave us that entry, gave us that reaction of there, and price completely went bullish. So we are bullish, therefore we are only looking to take long positions with US30. But what I don't like here is I would like to take an entry down here And the issue here is if price does retrace, it has to break all these areas, which makes this area bearish. And also, if you do look at the higher time frame on the monthly, we are in consolidation still. So just one time frame being bullish, just the weekly, and then the monthly being in consolidation, weekly being in bullish, and then daily, when if it retraces, going bearish, this is not a high probability trade for me. Therefore, for now, I personally would avoid trading Dow Jones US30 till I see a bit more clearer direction on the monthly and on the daily, right? There's only one possibility that can happen, and it is a bit of a lower probability. But price, if you want to take it, you can. Price can find support around this area here, and then give us an entry towards from this demand zone there towards the top, right? So that's the only area of entry I would say I would be interested in, this area there. So you can keep an eye on that, but I personally won't be taking this trade. Alright, for now we are done. So please like and subscribe, comment if you are liking these, and please join the free Telegram group to keep updated on these trades. So till next time,